Greetings. Today is the 18th of December 2025, and it is an honor and a pleasure for me to be with Lieutenant Commander Cdr Mangolele, not only a brother, but a fellow peace commissioner. Commander,
my brother,
a pleasure to see you again.
Same here, my brother.
Thank you.
This has been long overdue.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The nation is wondering about your permanency of your commission and the fact that your salary hasn't been paid since August 2018. Could you enlighten us and elaborate a little bit on the legal aspects of exactly what you're doing to overcome this unlawful situation?
Thank you, Henry. Good day, everyone. I am Force number 99004046 MC Lieutenant Commander Sylvester Volane Madala Mangolele. The reality about my commission is that which you see here. What you see here are the values that found what we are as the people of this particular nation. Human dignity, the achievement of equality, and the advancement of human rights and freedoms. Non-sexism, non-racialism, supremacy of the Constitution and the rule of law, universal adult suffrage, a common voters' roll, and a multi-party democratic system to ensure accountability, openness, and responsiveness. You find that truth, my brother, at section 1, chapter 1 of the manual of each and every member in the South African National Defence Force. Members of the South African National Defence Force have pledged to serve and defend the country and its people in accordance with the Constitution and the law. The first thing that comes is the Constitution and the law. So, in whatever averments that I would advance on record now, it will be only the terms of the Constitution and the law, and in that context. South Africa is that which is written on my shoulders, and that of every rank insignia, from seaman up to the rank of captain in the South African Navy, the People's Navy, that prides itself with diligence and absolute zeal. It is not the Navy for somebody, it's the Navy for the people. And all of my subordinates, when they look into their shoulders or on their shoulders, they will see South Africa written there. It is only the admirals whose commissions is gold-plated and it's not written South Africa. And when you take notice of other rank insignias in other arms of services, you would find that they are not written South Africa as it is written in the rank insignia of the People's Navy. And I am for the people. My discipline is that of the highest standard of the people. You always see me wearing white or something like that. That is always discipline that one has been taught, and then that one has to maintain, to lead his subordinates by example. I'm coming to the commission. I have broken sweat, tears, and did everything to attain my commission, as any other officer would attest who was in training with me in 2003 in Gordons Bay under the leadership of one Captain George Mpafi, who taught us all that when you argue based on policy, you win. That is why all the time I execute that which must be executed in terms of Section 20 of the Defence Act, which entrust me that I must achieve that which I go out to achieve. And that must be done with integrity, because we have pledged to serve and defend our country and its people in accordance with the Constitution and the law, and with honor, dignity, courage, and integrity. Integrity means that you always do the right thing even when you are not seen by people. So, when I employ my integrity, I have respect to the President, who has, in terms of Section 54 of the Defense Act, made this permanent commission, or conferred this permanent commission. And in terms of Section 54(3)(a) of the Defense Act, it tells you that only the President may cancel the permanent commission, and then such commission may not be cancelled unless the holder thereof is informed in writing and called to come and show cause on whichever charges or allegations that are made against that particular person. In coming and showing cause, it gives rise to the applicable terms of Section 23(1) of the Constitution, obligating that everyone has a right to fair labor practice. So, in fair labor practice, when you refer to me as a Mr., you are actually undermining the authority of the President. And many members of the South African National Defence Force, and in particular in the South African Navy, the People's Navy, they have been misled or taught to call me a Mr. or refer to me as a Mr. and not my rank, following a delusion that has been manifested. Somebody sat in his office, wrote, Lieutenant Commander Mangolele is discharged. That letter or order, it came to me, I have read it, understood it, and refused to obey it as per my code of conduct. My code of conduct obligates myself and any other member of the South African National Defence Force to refuse to obey a manifestly illegal order. I know it to be legal that when one is discharged administratively, a competent civilian court must have sentenced that person to imprisonment without an option of a fine, or a sentence involving discharge or dismissal must have been imposed to that person under the code as obligated in terms of Section 59(1)(d) of the Defence Act. And in principle of the Defence Act, members of the Defence Force, and the Defence Force is not General Rodzani Mapwanya. General Rodzani Mapwanya is a function of the Chief of the Defence Force. His duties and responsibilities are in terms of Section 14 of the Defence Act. Whenever I call General Rodzani Mapwanya to court or to come and account or respond or be open, is only in terms of his functions that obligates him a responsibility to teach, and must teach and require the members of the Defence Force to act in accordance with the Constitution. And I go to court and say, this provision of the Constitution was not complied with for my salary to be arbitrarily or without just cause stopped on 8 August 2018. For my salary to have been arbitrarily or without just cause stopped, that did not empower me to desert my duty to the Defence Force, my duty to Section 200, obligating that the Defence Force must be structured and managed as a disciplined military force whose primary object is to defend and protect the Republic, its territorial integrity, and its people in accordance with the Constitution and the international principles regulating the use of force. That is what Section 200 is. It defines the Defence Force as a citizen, which is Section 3 in the Constitution, obligating that every citizen is equally entitled to the rights, privileges, and benefits of citizenship, and equally subject to the duty and responsibilities of citizenship. And such citizenship at Section 20 is a right that cannot be taken away of the Constitution. So all the pledge that we have done to say that we serve in the South African National Defence Force with loyalty and pride as citizens and volunteer. When you are saying as a citizen, as a member of the Defence Force, you are meaning Section 3 of the Constitution, because you must act in accordance with Section 3 of the Constitution. And then when you are saying a volunteer, you are meaning Section 200 of the Constitution. That's what makes judges run away when I tell them that my authority to stand before them is as a citizen and a volunteer. So what their library of thinking must focus on is the applicable terms at Section 3 of the Constitution and Section 200 of the Defence Force of the Constitution, and the principles enlisted in Section 2 of the Defence Act, obligating all members of the Defence Force to act in accordance with the Constitution, meaning that the Constitution is our manual. It's like the Constitution is our KFC manual. You cannot come to KFC and then expect Nando's out of the KFC manual. So right now we are having corruption, criminal activity, and misconduct that is producing out of the KFC a Nando's chicken. That is why people have been misled to think that I have deserted my duty. Good people, I cannot, as obligated in terms of Section 13 of the code of the Military Discipline Code, desert my duty. And also all of you as members of the Defence Force, you cannot desert your duty to the Defence Force, not to General Rosani Mapwanya or any idolized individual of senior rank that you may have in your library of thinking. Your library of thinking must be that of discipline, and discipline is when you comply with the applicable terms of Section 200 defining you as the member of the Defence Force. This has been the difficulty that I have been having with people when I tell them I cannot desert my duty. When I'm in active service, Section 13 obligates that if I desert my duty to the Defence Force, I go to jail for 20 years. And in any other case, like in a case now when I have been without salary for the past 7 years, and I thank all people that have contributed to my livelihood to this day. I am humble and very appreciative of all the efforts that you have done, for it is indeed true, written in the Defence Force Service Commission manual that is being established by the Minister of Defence in terms of Section 62L, if I'm not correct, of the Defence Act, that my life is entrusted to the nation and the state. When I die for all of you, for I have pledged to serve and defend all of you. That is why my approach in every matter is in accordance with the Constitution. And that is why it is easy for me to see an administrative body or a public servant that does not comply with the Constitution. And then I have asked the Chief of Human Resource in the South African National Defence Force to comply with Section 23(1) of the Constitution and the law at Section 55(1) of the Defence Act and pay my salary. For I do serve and defend my country and its people in accordance with the Constitution. Those who will oppose you, Lieutenant General Sichongaye, you will understand it that they do not want you to respect, protect, promote, and fulfill the rights in the Bill of Rights, which is Section 23 of the Constitution, that I'm asking you to respect, protect, and fulfill. We have a lot of work to do. We are obligated, Henry, by an act of parliament to arrest the decline. The decline is any other person that refuses to uphold the law. Because all of us as commissioned officers, we are commissioned by a function whose mandate is to uphold, defend, and respect the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, and promote the unity of the nation and that which will advance the Republic as obligated in terms of Section 83 of the Constitution, whose heading is the term the President. Anybody can be the President, but every person that becomes the President will be expected to uphold, defend, and respect the Constitution. So if the Constitution says everyone has a right to freedom and security of the person that is the President must uphold and defend that fact that everyone has a right to freedom and security of the person. That is the person that can only cancel my permanent commission. If you cannot uphold that everyone has a right to freedom and security of the person, and be in a position where the security services of the country and its people has arbitrarily or without just cause placed a picture of me in its corridors, telling everybody, especially in the Navy HQ in Pretoria, that this ex-lieutenant commander is not allowed to enter this building. And that false evidence appearing real, it's F-E-A-R, fear. It causes fear amongst my subordinates that must act in accordance with the Constitution and the law, because that comes from the people such as Vice Admiral Mondelo Base, who goes and lies to the people and say we defend the Constitution, but when a people coming to the People's Navy, asking the People's Navy to comply with the Constitution, they say no, you are not the people. So immediately once people start understanding the terms and their duty, I will have my salary tomorrow, because the Defense Force is on duty 24/7.
Thank you very much, my brother. Thank you. I must say I'm sad to hear that you've gone through this for 7 years, and the nation stands behind you. I have had the absolute pleasure of being in Bloemfontein and working with the commander, and I know that his efforts and remedies to right this unlawful situation that he's faced with will soon be on the desk of those responsible for not upholding the law. Thank you.
And I thank you for giving me this opportunity, and I want to say, while having this platform in service and defense of my country and its people, that the person that is chairing this current commission that is on national media is actually, yes, I forget his name because it's many of them. It's a quorum. There is a quorum that made a decision in terms of Constitutional Court case number CCT 141 of 2024. And that quorum is the current justices that are in the Constitutional Court, including Madanga. They have declined to comply with a lawful fact that everyone has a right to have any dispute that can be resolved by the application of law, decided in a fair public hearing before a court, or, where appropriate, another independent and impartial tribunal or forum as obligated. They are obligated to comply with it in terms of Section 34 of the Constitution. Now, instead of hearing the matter or jumping into the applicable terms of Section 12 of the Superior Courts Act, which delineates the manner at which the Constitutional Court must arrive at a decision, the commonality between that Constitution and law is hearing. Yes. And then, if you decline to hear the matter, what does Parliament say to me? arrest the decline in critical capabilities through immediate directed interventions. And what are immediate directed interventions? When I look at the term arrest, I find it at the applicable terms of Section 35 of the Constitution and the law at Section 40 of the Criminal Procedure Act that imposes an obligation on me as a peace officer to arrest any person who commits an offense in my presence or in my knowledge. And my presence is different from that of Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, whose current commission is void because I have already applied the applicable terms of Section 35 of the Constitution and the law at Section 40 of the Criminal Procedure Act to Madlanga J. So Madlanga J in my library is under arrest in terms of Constitutional Court case number CCT 141 of 2024. That is what I have done to comply with the first principle in the Defense Act, Section 2A, obligating that I must take into consideration the authority of the National Executive and Parliament. And the authority of the National Executive and Parliament gave us a South African Defense Review 2015 and 4 key milestones that we must achieve. The first milestone, Henry, obligates each and every member of the South African National Defence Force, including yourself, as the citizen or the people that we serve and defend, to arrest the decline in critical capabilities through immediate directed interventions. Your authority in arresting the decline as a citizen equally entitled to a right at Section 35 of the Constitution is compensated by the applicable terms of Section 42 of the Criminal Procedure Act, allowing you or any member of the public to make a citizen's arrest. That is the law, it's not me. Yes. Now, coming back to the obligations imposed by Section 2A of the Defense Act and the result thereof is such that I have indeed arrested the decline in critical capabilities through immediate directed interventions. Immediate and directed interventions are the obligations imposed in terms of Section 35 of the Constitution, because all constitutional obligations must be performed diligently and without delay, as obligated in terms of Section 237 of the Constitution. That reality is the reality that we have persistently found under the administration of the incumbent President Cyril Ramaphosa, who could not uphold, who could not defend, who could not respect the Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic. He trains all his judicial officers. Do not say everyone has a right to have any dispute. He says to them, no, only LLB practitioners have a right to have any dispute that can be resolved as obligated in terms of Section 34, and which is a lie, a pure, blatant lie that we cannot anymore accommodate. That is why I am asking for all judicial officers that have pledged in terms of Item 6 of Schedule 2 of the Constitution that they will be faithful to the Republic, will uphold and protect the Constitution and the human rights enshrined in it, and will administer justice to all people alike, for so help me God, as you have made that oath of office before a Chief Justice or another judge designated by the Chief Justice. That is the reality that I see every single time when I see a judicial officer on the bench. I expect a person that will protect that everyone has a right to have any dispute that can be resolved by the application of law. We are there only to apply law. And if one were to call Chief Human Resource of the South African National Defence Force, Henry, it would be the issue that also Lesotho requires clarity about whether this person is discharged or not discharged. And it is not only Lesotho, it is the family of nations, it is the universe that requires service and defense and the integrity of one Lieutenant General Malungisa Sichongaye, who is the incumbent chief of the South African National Defence Force, who employs every function in the Defence Force to act in accordance with the Constitution. And if they don't act in accordance with the Constitution, he must take them out of this particular Defence Force, because the word discipline appears only once in the entire text of the Constitution. It is at section 201 of the Constitution, defining that the Defence Force must be structured and managed as a disciplined military force. So that is the reality that we are having, that whatever resources have been spent in this issue of General Mkhwanazi, who is in terms of the Constitution a section 205 functionary, and that section 205 functionary carries a same definition of me as a peace officer as defined in terms of section 1 of the Criminal Procedure Act, to also arrest any person that commits an offense in his presence. So, honestly speaking, our country has been misled to believe that things have been done in accordance with the Constitution and the law, only to find that things have been done to promote a certain agenda. In your library, when you see a policeman seeing a crime, what do you expect?
An arrest.
You expect an arrest. And then take all the evidence that you are having, bring it to court, right?
Correct.
And how many people are now not having the luxury of hearing what they have done before they get arrested? Some of them are on trial for 7 years, some of them are on trial for 3 years, some of them. It is the reality of our country and its people which I serve and defend. And that particular reality cannot be equated to this reality of the unlawful, unconstitutional, and invalid Madanga Commission that is currently stealing again the resources of our country. What you are seeing there is what you are supposed to be seeing in each and every court of law, where we create employment for the cameraman that will be recording the particular proceedings. And these proceedings, if you were to count, is millions of them in the country. So how many millions would be paid to how many hundreds of thousands of people that will be employed to ensure transparency and its accessibility and its timeliness, as it has been done in Lesotho? People now know I was in court, and they also know what was said in court, because transparency in Lesotho has been fostered. And to be honest with you, I'm impressed with that particular aspect in the judicial conduct of Lesotho, for them to ensure that His Royal Majesty, the Crown, knows exactly what is happening inside his judicial courts. Right now, how many times have we been in court asking for the same prayer? Record the proceedings. We've been in Bloemfontein. The same prayer was a copy and paste of section 195(1)G of the Constitution, obligating that transparency must be fostered by providing the public with timely, accessible, and accurate information. But when you ask the court that is subject only to that provision, it refuses.
I've seen that.
Yes, and it is still the same prayer that is being held in reserve even now.
Yes.
So the current administration does not want to comply with the Constitution and allow everybody that which we say in court. I am embarrassed to find that you have seen that a judicial officer does not know what is the state. We ask the judicial officer to say, please comply with section 7(2) of the Constitution and know that the state must respect, protect, promote, and fulfill the rights in the Bill of Rights, and such judicial officer refuses.
That's correct.
and manifest an illegal order that I am, in terms of section 1996 of the Constitution and the law at section 2E of the Defence Act, including the Code of Conduct for uniformed members, may not obey. So that is why I call upon all members of the Defence Force to be in true reality to your duty to the country and its people, and stop sucking up to people that do not comply with the Constitution and the law, such as General Rozani Mapwanya, who is also mutatis mutandis under arrest in the applicable terms that have arrested Madlanga J. You would understand it to be true that I am respectful to these particular functions in truth and in service and defense of the country and its people. And you will understand it to be true that access to court is in terms of section 34 of the Constitution and the law at section 9 of the Superior Courts Act, whose obligations imposes that courts are open every Saturday, Sunday, or public holiday. Members of the South African National Defence Force, you know it to be true, and in particular the quartermaster on board a ship. You know that as you enter at the brow on board a ship, there is always a quartermaster, 24/7. Judicial officers, they perform the same functions as a quartermaster because the law operates 24/7. You get arrested at 2 a.m. You get arrested at any given time. And our courts and the level of the employment that it could promote is you seeing our courts operating 24/7. Our law allows us to wake up judges at any given time. I have been in court before the Honorable Kumalo J at 6 a.m. in the morning on Thursday when I wanted to go to Cape Town for to attend a full bench that was promised by Judge Hlophe, who's the Judge President of the Western Cape High Court at the time, for this matter of my salary to be resolved, where the Chief of the Defence Force and the Chief of the Navy were witnesses called to come and account as to what did they do, how did they do it relative to me. And that was prohibited. So that's when you saw the judicial independence being compromised to a point where we are now having judges in a court bench not wanting to comply with the law of the land as obligated in terms of Article 6 of the Code of Judicial Conduct. It's like all these things, they have written them just for show. It's like you cannot read Article 6 that tells you that a judge must at all times, also in relation to extrajudicial function, comply with the law of the land. That is why a judge is paid a salary for life. That is why to remove a judge, it takes a majority vote of their parliament, the representation of the people. Because when a judge is removed from a bench, all its judgment are subject to leave to appeal. I cannot say today I'm a peace officer and then tomorrow I'm not a peace officer. And now I'm a soldier and tomorrow I'm not a soldier. I cannot do that. I'm a soldier until I die. It is the law of the land like that. But now judicial officers, they want to call you a mister. And they undermine the person or the function that employed them in office, which is the president. And when you read what is the president, I have already said it's section 83. The person who must uphold the law, who must defend it, and who must respect it. And they are supposed to do the same, but they are not doing it. That's why we are calling upon all judicial officers that are of the Constitutional Court jurisdiction to preside over Constitutional Court case number CCT 141 of 2024. That Constitutional Court case arrests the decline in critical capabilities through immediate directed interventions. And the only lawful error or ambiguity or omission that has been done to that particular case is such that it is not being heard. If I come to you, Henry, saying that Mike stole my glass, for example, and I want you to prosecute Mike based on the evidence that is current before you, and you don't want to even hear the matter, it automatically means that you are also accomplice to stealing this particular glass. That is why the current Constitutional Court judges, including the Chief Justice Maya, they are under arrest. It's not a lie. When we all comply with the law, because they are the people that are causing all my subordinates and country and its people, the people of the Navy, to comply with the applicable terms at Section 9.2 of the Constitution, obligating that equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and freedoms. They don't want the nation to sing in family of nation that they must live and enjoy freedom in the universe, our home. They want the nation to sing in the family of nation that they want to live and struggle or attempt or strive for freedom in South Africa, their land. That is enslaving the entire nation. And that is why I'm saying they are a decline in a critical capability, a capability that must uphold all constitutional court values and all obligations imposed by the Constitution. They don't want, no, you are not the president. I am commissioned by the president. That is why my commission is such importance to a point where I cannot even want to call myself a rank that I am not. You see, so the reality that we are having here, Henry, is that members of the Defense Force are currently being caused by judges in the Constitutional Court not to comply with Section 9.2 of the Constitution. And I call upon all members of the Defense Force who are true to their oath of office to serve and defend the country and its people in accordance with the Constitution, to comply with Section 9.2 of the Constitution and sing in national prayer that you sound the call for all to come together, and united we shall stand. Let us live and enjoy freedom in the universe, our home. Stop this nonsense that is law or conduct that is inconsistent with the obligations imposed by the Constitution to say, let us live and struggle or strive for freedom in South Africa, our land. That is the reality that they must stop. That is the reality that you've been seeing me going to court for. That is the reality that I have been jailed for. Every time you see me going to jail is because I say, people, stop saying let us live and struggle for freedom. They say, no, we want them to live and struggle for freedom. We jail you. That is the reality that I am being forced, or everybody has been subjected to live. Now, that is the reality that we have fixed together, and your support and your tenacity and your due diligence in everything that you do is highly appreciated, including in everything that we must still do as we are obligated or duty bound, as obligated in terms of Section 3 of the Constitution, for us to be responsible citizens.
Thank you, Commander.
Thanks, Andy.
So it's obvious the judicial officers are not complying with the supreme law of the nation.
Correct.
And especially in terms of Section 34, that everyone is allowed to have any matter.
No, they are not compliant with that, because you are forcing an energy to live and struggle for that freedom. If this is freedom, if this is Section 34, when I confess with my own mouth that I want to live and struggle or attempt for this freedom, for this Section 34, it is what will happen. That is why it is so important to change our covenant with God, the God that is almighty, that will allow us to live and enjoy this freedom. Because in the national anthem, and let me unpack that quickly, in the national anthem we say to God, Nkosi sikeleli Africa. I believe, I do trust that God has indeed blessed Africa. That's why all the time I say God has indeed blessed Africa, because you asked for it. It's not me who's saying he blessed it because I want him to bless it. No, you ask for it. Nkosi Sikeleli Africa. And then may his glory be held up high. That's what you've asked for. It's like people don't understand what they are saying in national prayer. National anthem, it's a prayer. It's your conviction with God. So the devil, and I'm sorry to say anybody's a devil, but the devil or the decline has led us to be in a position where we converse to God. Let's say you are God. God is good all the time. All the time, God is good. If I say, God, I ask eggs, give me eggs. If I say, God, let me live and struggle for this freedom, I will struggle. To struggle, it means that I will die not even getting a single drop of this. That is the reality of struggle. That's the reality of attempt. If I get a single drop of this, then I've enjoyed that. You get what I'm saying? That is why I aver that everybody must say, let us live and enjoy freedom. So you'll be enjoying Section 34, resolving all your disputes by applying law. If you see somebody crossing a robot there as a citizen that is duty bound to arrest, when you see them doing wrong, you go and say, a dispute in the robot by the traffic law.
Yes.
You understand? And that matter is resolved by, no, you are what you are not, you are what you are not. It's just only by application of law. So now, coming back to the national prayer, you have said, Nkosi Sikeleli Africa. That's why we are the custodians of peace as the Peace Commission to Africa, because everybody in South Africa said, Nkosi Sikeleli Africa. We even said it ourselves. Yes. And then you said, God protect our nation. Morena Boloka Sechaba Sahis. And then after that, you said, South Africa, you called everybody. 8 blow fund on Sehemel out of the blue of our skies. 8 deep fund on sea out of the depths of our seas. War on barsters over the everlasting mountains. Everybody that is behind the mountains, let's say that counter is the mountains, come out. Everybody come here. Where the cliff gives answer, sound the call. Ding, 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 for all to come together. And united we shall stand. Let us live and do what? Yes. You're striving for this freedom. I die and you say rest in peace. I leave you. You're striving for this freedom. You teach your children. You will never get this freedom. That is what you are confessing with your mouth. Yes. And that the reality is law or conduct that is inconsistent with the obligations imposed, that equality includes the full and equal enjoyment of all rights and freedom. This is before Justice Maya. She knows it. Mogoeng, he knows it. Zondo, they know it. That is why in the court papers I said current and predecessor. Because this reality is not only for today, it has been the reality that I have lived, and then that has been enforced upon me to live and struggle for freedom, fulfilling those obligations. That is why I say, as a father, and I urge all fathers, do not teach your children to utter with their own tongue that they want to live and struggle for freedom, because the tongue is where your power as an individual comes from. So that is the reality that we are having with this reality. And then people must start waking up. We are not doing this for show. It's painful to sit in front of a laptop and type, to research and then want to understand what is this and then what is that and then what is this. Anybody can go back to this video and check with the Constitution, the section that is saying, every word that I'm saying is exactly that which is in the Constitution. Because I must act. I am required to act. And I am taught to act in accordance with the Constitution, as all members of the South African National Defence Force by design are taught to act. And the reality that we are having now, some of them say, no, he's discharged, meaning that I'm under arrest. The system that pays my salary has been lied to, saying that I'm convicted in terms of Section 105 of the Defence Act. When I read Section 105 of the Defence Act, why are you saying? It says conviction. I say, conviction when? 8 August 2018. So on or before 8 August 2018, I was convicted in terms of this section. That is the argument before the record of God.
Yes.
And every time, everybody thinks that I'm convicted every time I'm being sent to jail for what happened before, on or before the 8th of August 2018. The matter that is before court, we were talking about that earlier when I tell you that the matter of me and my ex-wife kissing and making my firstborn son is irrelevant to the success of our son, because he's a product, and that particular matter needs to be discussed as its own matter without prejudice to the product that came out of there. That is why now, without prejudice, you must say, oh, the salary stopped on 8 August 2018. What happened on 8 August 2018? Only that day. You get what I'm saying? And then you'll get to the core of exactly what had happened, not the hearsay evidence that you are hearing that is sustaining criminal activity, corruption, or misconduct in the public administration by public servants. These people are paid a salary to serve me and you and everybody. They are not the bosses. We are the bosses. People, let us take the power back into our own hands in accordance with the Constitution and the law. That is what defines the principles or the governing principles of national security to be a resolve by South Africans as individuals or as a nation to seek a better life, to live in harmony, to live in peace, and to live without want, and to be free from any other form of slavery. For God has indeed blessed Africa. Papa Ote.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.